Don't you wish you could be more productive over the course of your day? Well, in the early part of the 20th century, a gentleman named Charles Schwab thought the same thing. But he was the leader of Bethlehem Steel. And what he wanted to do was he wanted to increase the productivity of his organization. So he hired a consultant named Ivy Lee to try to make that happen for him. And when the two men sat down to talk about money, Lee looked at Schwab and said, "You pay me what you think I'm worth when I'm done with your task." And so 90 days later, after he completed the task, he gets a check in the mail. And the check was for $35,000. Now, in the early part of the 1900s, you could buy a house for $2,000. The average worker made $2 a day, and $35,000 was about equal to $1 million in today's money. So clearly, what he did worked. And so when we look at what actually happened, it was very, very simple. You see, Lee went to Schwab's top executives and he gave them a very simple task. He said, before you leave today, I want you to make a list of the top 6 things that you want to accomplish tomorrow. And when you come in tomorrow morning, the first thing you do is the highest priority thing on that list, number 1. And you do nothing else until that task is completed. Once you complete the first task, you move on to the second task, and you do the exact same thing. That was the advice he got. That's what happened. The net result is 5 years later, Bethlehem Steel was the largest independent steel producer in the entire world. And Schwab had amassed over $100 million. So sometimes the simplest ideas can have the greatest impact. So here's what I'd like you to think about. We get caught up in this idea of multitasking because many of us think we can do it. Right? We think we can do multiple things at once. And the reality of it is multitasking is a myth. It simply doesn't work. So what I'd like to ask you to do for next week, or to start this week, tomorrow, and that is make a list exactly as Ivy Lee suggested of the top 6 things you need to get done. Create yourself a to-do list. Update your to-do list every day. Right? That's the simplest form, but prioritize that list. Start at the very top with the most pressing issue and simply work your way down from there until each task is complete. And after you finish these tasks, then you can go check email. Then you can return phone calls. But if you can simply focus on one task at a time, you'll see that you're much more efficient in terms of getting things done. Have a great week.